It's the turn of rural and community tourism. It's certainly not new, but it's set to be a major trend this year as people who've been cooped up in urban environments for the last year long for the escape and freedom a holiday in a rural community promises. As we prepare for an increase in domestic guests this season, thanks to COVID, that creates some real challenges, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I mean, first of all, we welcome tourism. We've had a very quiet time and we'll be delighted to welcome them back. But it's really managing them. We had a lot of motorhomes last year, and it's encouraging people to park in the right places and to take their litter with them, or do some extra litter picking ourselves to make sure we keep a clean and welcoming environment for everybody.
It's all to do with the guest. Who is the guest? Where are the guests coming from? What's the guest expecting? And making sure your experiences and your products and your services are aligned with the guests. The challenge there is the guests you may be getting may not be the guests you got in 2019 and previous to that. So it can be a bigger challenge for businesses, making sure the business is aligned with the guests that are actually going to be visiting this season.
Collaboration is the word that we keep hearing over and over again. How has the group evolved to respond to this crisis and help get businesses back on that road to recovery?
When lockdown occurred last March, we set up a WhatsApp group so that we could more quickly get in touch with everybody. We had Zoom meetings, of course, and with every bit of every announcement that came, we flagged that up on our websites. I think we've put up 222 posts in the year, whereas in a normal year we probably put up one a month. So keeping people up to speed on what was happening was important. And also working with them. So there was some concern when all the cleaning protocols came out. So we managed to get some training. We did a bulk order for the disinfectants, the antiviral sprays and so on, and just tried to address people's concerns. And the group itself has helped one another. So in the autumn, when we had to go back to alfresco dining and it was a bit cold, then the WhatsApp group, immediately people were offering patio heaters and so on. So we just very much worked in self-help and working together as a big kind of family, if you like.
It makes sense that people want to escape to rural areas. What new issues does it raise for businesses? You talked there about knowing the customer better, perhaps.
The tourism industry in Scotland, much like the tourism industry in lots of countries around the world, tends to be very, very inward focused and looking on its own issues. Whereas the opportunities and threats are not within tourism, they come from society at large. So you have to look outside tourism to see how you're going to structure your industry to address the challenges. Now, the world we're in has presented two types of change. We have structural change happening at the moment that is both a massive threat and a huge opportunity for tourism. So examples of that are we've now got a huge amount of the population working from home or working from anywhere. Now, that isn't going to change. That is a trend. All the data is showing that is a trend that's going to increase. We're not talking small numbers here. We're talking millions and millions of people can work from home or work from anywhere. That is a unique opportunity for Scottish tourism if it gets its head around it. And
Joan, how have you gone about tackling some of those issues around infrastructure and about that sort of customer experience up in Dornoch?
Well, we've worked over the winter on a visitor management plan, and we certainly have got some overflow parking down at the beach and encouraging camper vans to park there where there's kind of deeper areas to park. We're also still hopeful that we might get a new car park. Daychick has bought Dornoch South, which was the old abattoir site, and we have planning permission for a vehicle park, and we're just waiting for the kind of last two pieces in our funding package. And if we were to get that, then we would have that certainly for a bit later in the season. But that would allow us to get coaches and motorhomes and cars off the square or just provide extra facilities altogether.
Well, you talked about funding. There are some funds available. The Better Places Green Recovery Fund, which was launched, round one was launched in December, to help communities and destinations develop plans for proactive visitor management in nature hotspot locations across Scotland. The round two is now open for applications to help ensure services and infrastructure are in place to manage visitor numbers. And in this round, there is funding available for local authorities as well as community groups and NGOs. You can see the details on screen just now there for how to get in touch. I believe there's another round 4 actually of the Rural Tourism Infrastructure Fund, which is supporting the delivery of many of the infrastructure needs identified by the task force, which is to realise a more strategic network of facilities which will meet the needs of visitors for years to come, and drive Scotland's rural areas to become world-class destinations with the ability to meet future expectations of visitors. You can see again the details on the screen there. If you go to visitscotland.org, there's much more information, but the deadline for that is the 19th of May for an expression of interest, so definitely worth having a look into. Peter, what have been the major changes you've made within your business, and can you tell us exactly what you do?
The Scottish business we do is an outdoor adventure business. We take people down rivers, canyons, up mountains, climbing, abseiling, rafting, kayaking, anything to do with the outdoors. So the changes that we experienced last year for the customers when we got open for 3.5 months, 4 months, whatever it was much more last minute booking for obvious reasons. People don't want to commit ahead, so it's very last minute driven, which gives you a whole host of operational issues when people are booking sometimes an hour, 2 hours before the time. Previously, our average booking window was 30 odd days. During August last year, it was down to within 24 hours. So that drives operational issues. All customers live in a digital world now. It's digital first. They live on their mobile phone. So the digital touch points of how the customer interacts with your business is a challenge when it's short notice bookings. It's a challenge all the time, and it's getting more of a challenge. We've had 10 years worth of digital growth in less than a year. So anybody who's not got the business structured and able to communicate with their customer base and their guest base in a digital manner are going to miss out on potentially a lot of business because of the digital nature of customers interacting with their phones above everything. It's not my opinion, that's all data. All the data is available globally. What
about that digital aspect? I know that you have developed a new website and an app actually as well.
Yes, and we certainly, as a business group, basically, they contribute financially to the Visit Dornoch project, and we have 4 part-time employees. So we have Lucy Williams is on digital marketing, so she has focused her time in making sure that we're getting the message out there that while we're in lockdown, that Dornoch is waiting for you. Dream about your holidays in Dornoch. Book ahead, it will all come again. We've decided this year we're just about to relaunch our website and have a new app because we feel that's the way to speak to people. We're also going to have the digital notice board outside our new visitor centre so that 24/7 people can get that information. They don't actually have to speak to a person if they don't want to, but we will be open to do that face-to-face chat for those people.
You have to take into the situation we're in, the landscape you've got, the environment you've got. What can you design that aligns with who these customers are? But you can only design it if you know who the customers are. Now, the reality is there's a lot of businesses going to get a lot of business this summer from local people from all over England, from all over Scotland, just because of the situation, but they haven't actually designed the products and their services and their experiences for this customer. So you can have a misalignment, and it's difficult. This stuff's not easy. You need to really understand who your customer is, so you create the correct experience at every touch point with that customer to satisfy them. And particularly for this season, think about the customer's journey when they're not with you. And how can you help them find that parking space? How can you help them find that accommodation that's suitable for what they're doing? How can you find that food solution for them that is suitable for them? Just because it's not your business, we're all going to have to step up to help their whole journey.
This year, one of the things that came up from the various webinars we were watching in lockdown is the kind of authentic experience that people want to get. Our local museum ran a project, a longhouse project last year, looking at pre-clearance life. And they ran a number of workshops there about how you cook in those times, leatherware, silverware, and so on. And they were, oversubscribed with that. So that's something that they're looking at now to develop for visitors as well as locals.
The community working together is necessary. It would be impossible to create these sort of festivals and events without that collaboration. Joan, how would tourism businesses watching this just now, how would they go about creating a group like yours in their own community?
Well, I think if nothing exists, that they probably want to try and organise something that everybody's involved in, say a town tidy or something like that, because it's working together that builds those relationships. And then if there's a will, then you really need to have a big kind of workshop day or clear blue sky thinking, with the post-its up on the wall of, what are our strengths and weaknesses, what are the opportunities and threats, and out of that get a kind of agreement of what are the priorities for our village, town, whatever, and take 3 of those and then try and get some funding for them.
The concept of time, 24 hours in a day, we noticed last year we had a lot of customers from the southeast of England. We did a lot of marketing in the London area who came up. These were people who would never come to Scotland before. They would have been in Turkey, they would have been on boats in Greece, they would have been in Portugal or somewhere. Their concept of time during the day wasn't aligned with the concept of time when the businesses were open in Scotland. So they were looking for us to sit down for an evening meal at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So you have to look at your business, what your timings you're open. You're going to get an influx of people this time. None of the business has got any cash left. You've got an opportunity to get some cash back if you extend your opening hours. And if you want to manage what's coming, I suggest most businesses do extend their opening hours to be able to deal with what's coming. There's another not fallacy because it's factually true, but the Scottish tourism industry is worried because they have no international guests and the international guests are the highest spenders. Well, that was data from 2019 previously and it was correct. But it's not necessarily such a bad thing because certainly what we found last year was the people coming up, certainly from the southeast of England, were exceeding the spend of international visitors, certainly managing it, matching it, and in many cases exceeding it. And why is that? A couple of reasons. One, they had a budget for travel that would have been much higher because they were going abroad and they didn't go abroad, and they were willing to commit that budget to a holiday in Scotland. So that's a huge opportunity. The other opportunity around that money is currently in the UK, there's 189 billion of excess savings. We have never had as much money saved in the UK ever in our history. That is an awful lot of money sitting in people's bank accounts at the moment. COVID has been horrendous for a small part of the population. The vast majority of the population has made more money in COVID than they ever have because they've not been able to spend it, therefore it's amounted in their bank accounts. So we have a population that can't go anywhere who's sitting on excess money. That's the biggest opportunity tourism's ever seen. We have a unique brand. Scotland does have a brand that punches way above its weight and size globally. Other countries would kill for our brand. Therefore, it is a unique opportunity if we can align that brand with the trends of travel and tourism going forward and our environment. Now, we're a small country. We only have 5 million people, most of them in the Central Belt rather than the Highlands. So the Highlands needs to go and align itself with the environmental trends that are happening and make itself a renewable destination from an energy point of view and across the whole of society living there. It could be, and everybody always says it makes Scotland world class this, world class that. You have to align with where you could actually objectively meet that, and it could be an environmental honeypot for the trend, and that is a fast growing trend across tourism world. We could get that right because we have the basic infrastructure, but it's got to take talent, time, money to do that. But we're never going to compete with normal tourism. Therefore, why don't we align for the tourism of the future?